Finally, they are spending some of the money. Are they spending it wisely? Welcome, this is the third season of Flipped, where I took all of the Premier League teams and put them way down in the conference. I took all the conference teams and put them way up in the Premier League, and everyone else in between got flipped over as well. So, this is the third season. Some of those teams have already moved around a bit. If you've not seen them already, go back and watch the first two videos. But if you're all up to date, we've got a lot to get through in this video. How is Mbappe getting on in League 2? Have Curzon Ashton, first season Premier League champions, made it back to the Premier League after their shock relegation last season? How are Weymouth getting on in Europe? So, as always, I'm going to start at the bottom, work our way up, then we'll look at the cups, then we will look at some transfers, some finances, some other bits. If you want me to look at any specific teams, I do requests over on the TikTok channel. But before we go any further, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and like the video as well if you like this. But let's start with the Vanarama National League South. Again, it's two former Premier League teams that are going up. Southampton and West Ham are finally getting out of the division in the third season. Brentford, Brighton, Fulham, Watford, Swansea, Cardiff, Reading, Bournemouth, Millwall, these teams are all still stuck there. The new teams that came into Division Poole, Evesham, Biggleswade, Tiverton, all straight back down again. Salisbury and Methven have been spared. Gillingham, Cheltenham, Colchester, Wimbledon, the teams that came down, are just about staying in the division as well. Quick look at Birmingham, who you might remember got relegated. They seem to be stuck in the Northern Premier. You can see their reputation is in ruins. They still got Troy Deeney, aged 35. They've still got 2 million in the bank with about 200,000 transfer budget, which is a lot all the way down there in the non-leagues. So in the playoff final, West Ham beat Fulham. Brentford, who actually finished second in the league, didn't make it past Fulham. Brighton were the other team knocked out in the semi-final of the playoffs. Top goal scorer was Neil Maupay. Jared Bowen also getting 22 goals and Ivan Toney getting 22 goals. These are some good players all the way down the National League South. Average rating, the top two were both Southampton players. Stuart Armstrong and James Ward-Prowse. Christopher Ayer in third. And the top assist maker and man of the match were both James Ward-Prowse. 18 assists, 11 man of the matches. In terms of transfers from this division, again, there's a little bit of an exodus. Zambo Anguissa leaving Fulham to go to Man City. Man City, of course, now in League 2. Kurt Zouma leaving West Ham for PSG for about 20 million. Ian Acho leaving Leicester for West Ham, probably spending that Zouma money. Harrison leaving Leeds for West Ham, again, spending that Zouma money. Here's an interesting one. This might be the first of the teams now up in the Premier League spending their money. Weymouth have bought Marcus Forss from Brentford for around 6 million. Further down, also, you can see Weymouth spent 4.4 million on Ivan Cavaliero from Fulham. They spent 1.5 million on Tom Lockyer from Luton. I'm not seeing any of the other new Premier League clubs making signings from this division, so it'll be interesting to see if they picked up players from anywhere else when we get there. Another interesting one here, Anthony Martial leaving Man United in the division above to come down to play for Southampton in this division, 3.8 million. 28-year-old Martial playing for Southampton. He only made 6 appearances this season. He did join them in January, so it was a little bit later. He got 4 goals and 6 appearances. Surprised they didn't play him more. West Ham also picked up Redmond, Vestergaard. West Ham probably put a bit of money into getting that promotion. In the North Division, Everton, who you remember had that points deduction last year, financially safe now, up this season, 111 points. Newcastle are joining them after winning the playoffs. They won the final against Leeds. The relegated teams down the bottom are pretty much the promoted teams: Buxton, St United, Stalebridge and Nantwich. Oldham, Accrington spared relegation by the fact that these new teams came in. Top scorers in this division: Liam Delap at Newcastle, Val Veghorst at Burnley, Patrick Bamford at Leeds. And on the transfer front, again, there's a bit of an exodus. Wilfred Ndidi went from Leicester to Real Madrid for 32 million. Moise Keane left Everton for Juve. Actually, that's a real life transfer. Eto'o left Wolves for Torino. Conor Gallagher, interestingly, left Chelsea to join Everton. Struich has left Leeds for Dortmund. Everton also bought in Adam Webster from Chelsea. Chelsea making a little bit of profit on him because they only signed him for 9 million from Brighton the season before. Everton also bringing in James Maddison and Soyuncu from Leicester. So Everton, a bit like West Ham, had enough of being in this bottom division and have bought their way out of the division essentially. Raul Jimenez has left Wolves to go to Sassuolo for 8 million. Meslier has gone to play in Qatar, which is interesting because he's still quite young. He's only 24. Daniel Podence went to Everton. Leicester lost quite a few players this season and perhaps explains why they finished down in 6th. Here's an interesting one. Nick Pope, Burnley to Newcastle, 2.4 million. Of course, I created this database without the up-to-date real-world transfers, but he's eventually ended up at Newcastle anyway. Roman Saiz, who Newcastle bought just before, he's left for Real Salt Lake. The biggest outside signings were again Everton, Ficino, Piazza, Marmouche, all coming in from outside. Christian Pulisic moving from Chelsea to Everton for just 4.5 million. I'm sure that Twitch troll will be super happy about that one. In the National League, there's a little bit of a bottleneck because only 2 teams can go up from this into the league above, into League 2. Man United and Chelsea are the 2 promoted this season. We saw Man City and Liverpool going up last year. Arsenal, Villa, Spurs, Crystal Palace, all missing out. Those are the teams that had already come up. Down at the bottom, Lincoln, Fleetwood, Altrincham and Dover. Altrincham and Dover, of course, last season's League 2 relegations. That's probably reflected in the fact they got virtually no points. They got 8 points and 4 points respectively. Lincoln and Fleetwood are interesting relegations. Lincoln finished 4th last year, so that is a bit of a drop off for Lincoln. They're going to struggle down in those divisions below with those much stronger teams. Although they shouldn't get relegated from them now. There are non-league teams coming up into them. Still a lot of players caught here in no man's land now. It would be hard for them to get out of this division. Portsmouth, Oxford, Sheffield Wednesday, Blackpool, Bolton. For them to go up, they're going to have to produce something special. Top goal scorers, Lukaku with 29, Son with 24, Rashford with 22 for Man United. Average rating again, Lukaku. And assist maker Callum Hudson-Odoi at Arsenal. On the transfer front, again, it's more players leaving than coming in. Kai Havertz to Bayern. Joe Gomez went from Chelsea to Man United. Of course, he went to Liverpool to Chelsea the season before. So he's having a little bit of a merry-go-round. He obviously wants to stay in this division because he's not going up with any of these teams. Odegaard going from Arsenal to Juventus. Conor Gallagher from Chelsea to Everton. We saw that one a little bit earlier. Luca Digne joining Man United. Ollie Watkins joining Arsenal. Nuno Tavares leaving for Porto. Martinelli off to play in Mexico at Monterrey. What's interesting about some of these young players is how they're not choosing to go to typical European teams. So Martinelli going to Mexico. We saw Meslier going to play in Qatar. Arsenal spent a bit of that money picking up Buendia and Donny van de Beek. They lost Reece Nelson to Mönchengladbach. Arsenal spent a bit of that money picking up Martinelli, Buendia and Callum Hudson-Odoi. Harry Winks has gone to play for Udinese. Lindelof going to Chelsea. So Chelsea and Man United swapped to Lindelof and Joe Gomez. I think Man United probably got the better deal there. The biggest signing coming in is Paulinho, the Portuguese one, leaving Sporting and coming to Man United for just 5 million. There's also Mario Rui joining Chelsea for 3.6 million from Napoli, and Demir Bay leaving Leverkusen and joining Chelsea. Again, cut prices. I wonder if this change-up has taken some of the money out of the transfer market in other divisions. One other interesting one, Udoka Godwin-Malif, who went all the way up to the Premier League with Weymouth last season and got them European football, has now come all the way back down to join Man United for 1.9 million. So he left Forest Green. He was the star signing in the Premier League last year, and then he left in January to come play for Manchester United. In League 2, perhaps no surprise, Man City and Liverpool continue their ascent. They're well on their way back up to the Premier League now. It'd be interesting, do you think they can go consecutive seasons making their way up to the Premier League? It's hard to say otherwise, but let me know what you think in the comments. Salford and Morecambe will be the teams joining them. Chelmsford and Wealdstone will be the teams going down. They're both in a bit of free fall. Dulwich Hamlet have just about managed to stay in the division. That might help them out as more teams start to come down. Slough did well. They finished in 18th considering the quality of opposition there. They got 47 points. They beat out Scunthorpe. They beat out Eastleigh. Top goal scorers in the division, perhaps no surprise, Kylian Mbappe, 29. Considering Man City scored 143 goals as a team, that 29 looks pretty low. Same for Mo Salah, 28 goals. Kevin De Bruyne with the most assists at 14, but that sort of shows how spread around the team a lot of these goals were. Both those teams only lost one match, and it was to each other. On the transfer front, there's some interesting things here. Bernardo Silva leaving for Inter, maybe that's no surprise, as part of the exodus from the English leagues. Luis Diaz left Liverpool to go join Man City for 45 million. City also, of course, picked up Zambo and Guisa. They picked up a couple of players from outside. They picked up Jackson Poroso, Trey Cole, Darian Melez, Alexander Sorloth for just 3 million. But Liverpool haven't really picked up anyone. You can see Oneni, who they got from Arsenal, Nathan Phillips leaving, Loris Karius leaving. City picked up Marcus Paulo from Atletico for 1.8 mil. In fact, Liverpool only made 2 transfers in. Sandro from Huesca, Spanish striker, and Alex Cairns, a goalkeeper on a free. Whereas their outgoings, you can see a lot more. Origi, Bobby Firmino, Karius, Elliott, Bradley, Reece Williams, Tsimikas, Phillips, El Neni, Luis Diaz, Ben Davies. Thought it might be because of the finances. They've sold 59 million worth of player and not bought any players. But if we look at their finances, they're still pretty healthy. They've got 121 million. They've got a 109 million pound transfer budget. They got a £5.5 million wage budget. In League 1, Sunderland, Forest Green, Northampton all continue their rise. They came up in previous seasons. Rotherham with the other teams to come up, they have missed out on promotion via the playoffs. Farsley, Welling and Braintree all were in the Premier League at the start, now on a bit of free fall. Halifax had started in League 1, but they are going down as well. But certainly Welling and Farsley put up a decent fight. They picked up a few wins, quite a few draws as well, so they're not completely out of their league in this division. Of course, it is probably going to get a bit harder the further down they go. Top scorers in this division, Michael Smith at Rotherham, Sam Surridge at Forest Green and Jake Scrimshaw at Woking. No Sunderland player in the top scorers. But the highest ratings were 2 Sunderland players, Joseph Hungo and Jay Matete. Daniel Balesa at Rotherham getting the top assist maker with 15. Not loads of money going around in this division. Forest Green Rovers spent the most, spending 900 million on Brooklyn Leon's Foster. Mark Travers went from Bournemouth to Sunderland as well for 825k. The rest of them all under 500k. So not lots of money in this division, but it's League 1. You might not expect it. A lot of these teams didn't really start with a lot of money either. The 3 teams that got promoted from League 1 last year have gone up: Rochdale, Wrexham and Mansfield. So they will be going up to the Premier League, they'll be in a good position because they started down in League 1 and League 2. Much better than a lot of the opposition here. St Albans and Leamington, who came down from the Premier League last year, are unfortunately dropping out of the Championship world. Hampton and Richmond, who started in the Championship, are also dropping out. Curzon Ashton, the other team relegated from the Premier League last season and the champions in the first season, have held on there because they're going to be staying in the Championship. That's going to help them in the long run. It's going to get harder as teams come up from below, but it's going to get easier as teams get down from above. So it should balance out. If they're lucky, they will manage to keep themselves in this division as long as possible and solidify themselves. Dartford, Hereford, Southport, Chorley, all of these players on around 40 something points, so it was a very, very close relegation battle down there. Biggest transfer by a long way was West Brom selling Connor Townsend to Rochdale for 1.6 million, and he's got them into the Premier League, so we'll see how he gets on next year in the Premier League. There's no other big signings. There's lots around the 425k, 300k mark. If you want me to look at any team in particular, again, get over on the TikTok and request it there. In the Premier League, the 3 promoted from last season, as you can guess, were the top 3 in the Premier League. Notts County winning, Grimsby second, Sutton third. Weymouth, though, very, very, very close behind. They, of course, got Champions League football last year. They made that big signing of Udoka Godwin-Malief last season, but of course sold him on in January then to Manchester United. The other teams getting Europe places are Telford, Darlington and Guiseley getting the Conference League spot. The last couple of years, Chelsea, Man City, Man United have acquired Europe spaces via the Cups or via the other competitions. And it's a year too long in the Premier League for Eastbourne Borough, Tunbridge and Hungerford, who have all gone down. Top goal scorer Shane Lavery at Notts County, 22 goals. Alfie May, 15 goals for Guiseley. And Chris Long, 14 goals for Bradford PA. Top assist maker this season with Jason Malumbi with 21 assists. They bought him off Brighton in the summer for 425k. Something interesting is that the reputation of the Premier League has now dropped below La Liga, but it's still in second place, considering it's now the 3rd season in. It's holding on. The Championship also dropped 1 spot. Interestingly, the Vanarama National League dropped. I thought the Vanarama National League would start to get better as we had more good teams in there. Same with the Vanarama League North and South. Those really good Premier League teams in there, I thought it would go up. Dropped 1 spot from 145th to 146th. Now, Premier League transfers. Finally, they are spending some of the money. Are they spending it wisely? Maidstone paid 10 million for Ube Assal from Grimsby. We did see, of course, Weymouth picking up Marcus Force from Brentford. That's probably one of the better ones. Carlin Grant moving to Grimsby for 4.6 million. Daniel Ballard, an Arsenal youth product, has moved to Notts County. He's pretty decent, actually, for 4.3 million. Cavaliero, we also saw go to Weymouth for 3.6. Ollie McBurnley left Huddersfield for Weymouth for 2.9. I think Weymouth could be the team to watch in this. They could be the team that's starting to build a real Premier League team and compete at that top level. They did, of course, sell Udoka Godwin-Malief, but who needs him when you've got all those other players coming in? Notts County also picking up a couple of players. Daniel Ballard, as we previously mentioned, Tom Holmes. Christopher Adkilson also moving to Notts County, decent player. So you can see they're not splashing the big cash yet, but they are starting to pick up some of these better players. These teams are starting to improve. Telford, I want to look at their finances because they're the highest team still in the Premier League who we started after we flipped the divisions. Oh boy, is it healthy. 270 million in the bank, 119 million transfer budget, 2 million in wage budget. They're not spending anywhere near that. But they have got some players on mad wages. Ross Sykes at 92k. He is not a 92k a week player. Owen Dale on 92k. So this is massively inflated the wages of the players already at the clubs. You got to feel for some of these players near the bottom here, or on longer contracts, I assume, who are stuck on around 1,000k, £170 a week. Conor O'Reilly getting 500 quid a week. FA Cup time. You can see already that Liverpool were the champions again. They won last season, but perhaps the surprise there was Rochdale got to the quarterfinals. They did lose big time to Arsenal, 6-0, but that's going to be really good for Rochdale. I think they're going to be one of the teams to watch in this save. Liverpool and Man City fighting out for a Europe spot in that final, Liverpool winning. So Liverpool will be playing in Europe next year. And we can see the reason there was still another European spot in the Premier League. Liverpool beat Guiseley in the Carabao Cup. Perhaps the surprise here is in the 4th round, Man City were knocked out 1-0 by Rotherham. I thought they would have been knocked out by Liverpool of all the teams that knocked them out, but no, it was Rotherham beating them 1-0. Liverpool won the Community Shield against Maidstone. Now, a couple of people noticed on the TikTok that the Papa John's Trophy got messed up. Premier League teams would play their under-21 teams in it, and it would only be made up of League 1 and League 2 teams. Man City, of course, a League 2 team right now, so it makes sense that they're in it, but Leicester are not a League 1 or League 2 team. So you can see here in the Northern section, it not quite makes sense. Weymouth under-23s are in there, but they're not a Northern team. And you can see in the Southern section, Man United, Newcastle, Chelsea, these are not teams in League 2 or League 1. And Man United, Newcastle, Liverpool and Man City certainly are not in the south. Spurs, Arsenal, Leicester also in the competition somehow. No under-23 teams at all. So it's very odd. I don't know if it's because the Premier League teams don't have under-23 teams, so it's picking up the best teams from the league below. But that wouldn't explain how Newcastle got in because they're still 2 divisions down in the National League North. I think the answer is Oxford have an under-23 team, Grimsby, Concord, Weymouth, they have under-23 teams, but most of the Premier League teams now do not have under-23 teams. So I wonder if that has caused a bit of a mix-up with what's going on there and they're just picking up the highest reputation teams below League 1 and League 2. You see here there's 4 Premier League teams with professional developed ones. It's put those all in the northern section. And then for some reason it's taken 4 National League teams and 2 teams from the north. Put them in the southern section. Really, there's more than these 4 teams who had their under 23 teams in the competition. The Europa-based trophy, which of course has a lot of former Premier League teams in it now, was won by Chelsea. In Europa Conference League, Cambridge were the team to qualify last season. They put up a decent showing. They lost 4-2 to Slavia Sevilla, but they won the second leg 2-1. The representatives from England in the Europa League were Liverpool, going through their group with 6 wins out of 6, and Guiseley, who unfortunately got knocked out. But they did manage to pick up 1 win against Slovan Liberec from the Czech Republic. So it's a pretty decent result for Guiseley, that. But Liverpool went all the way to the final. They beat Sassuolo 2-0 in the finals. So Liverpool, even though they got the Europa League qualification via the FA Cup and the League Cup, they've already got Champions League qualification now via the Europa League. And in the Champions League, let's see how Maidstone, Weymouth and some of the other teams got on. But Weymouth, and they did not get a duck. The first of our Premier League teams to not get a duck. Weymouth got a 3-0 win against Dynamo Kiev, and they managed to draw 2-2 with Inter Milan. Darlington unfortunately got a duck, but in a hard group of Roma, Dortmund and Sociedad. But that goal difference isn't as bad as some of those goal differences last season. -17, we were looking at in the -20s last season. Telford also won a duck, but again, a -10 goal difference. Respectable, could have been much worse. Maidstone at the bottom here didn't get a duck. A 2-win win over Sevilla. Again, a fantastic result. Sevilla topped their group. -11 goal difference, not too bad. These teams are starting to get a bit better and do a bit better in Europe. And final one, Man City, of course, they went through from their group with Juventus. But if they want European football next season, they have to now win this competition. As you can see, Man City saw off Dortmund in the first round. In the quarter-final, they knocked out Bayern. But in the semi-final, even though they drew with them twice in the group stages, they came back up against Juventus. They won the first leg 3-1 away from home, but they lost the second leg 3-0 at home, meaning Juventus went into the final. And Juventus went on to win the final, but they needed penalties to beat Sevilla. And if you remember, Maidstone beat them in normal time. So that's 3 seasons since I flipped it upside down. Things are starting to get a bit more chaos and some things are starting to reset to normal. Man City and Liverpool, of course, going back to the top. But Weymouth, oh, I am excited for the Weymouth journey. Maidstone too, I'm feeling good about these 2 teams in the Premier League. Let's hope that Man City and Liverpool don't get there too soon before these 2 teams can really make a name for themselves. If you want me to follow any of these teams in particular, remember to come and follow over on the TikTok. Otherwise, make sure you give this video a like and hit that subscribe button that's just down there. But while you wait for season 4, why not check out this video I've got here?